This is the exact breakthrough we've been waiting for, as Owen Beck with his new team is up to 3 points per game, showing some insane offensive talent that we knew he had, plus David Reinbacher. Is he finally back in form offensively? We got all that plus more to talk about on this edition of Habs Digest. But the first thing we got to talk about, Jesse, is a bit of the real reason the Habs have been successful as of late, and we all know a lot of that comes from Sam Montembeault. There were some stats that Jay Fresh posted today. He likes to post some cool stats every now and then. If you guys haven't followed him, I really suggest you go and do that. But he posted first the 5v5 expected goals against per 60. In essence, how many goals is your team expected to give up per 60 minutes? And Montreal, second worst in the league, only ahead of San Jose. They're really not good. 2.92, 5v5. Remember, this is not even counting power plays or anything. This is just 5v5 expected goals against per 60. So, we know the Habs are one of the worst teams at giving up good scoring chances, 5v5, but guess who is up there in the goals saved above expected leaders? It's Sam Montembeault at 10th. Among some of the Vezina favorites here, we got guys like Markstrom, we got Demko, we got Hellebuck, Olmark, Lindgren, who's had an amazing season. Same with Adin Hill. These are all very good goalies, and Sam Montembeault is among the elite. And for a team like the Habs that has really struggled defensively, a lot of turnovers in their own zone, still something that they're learning about. To have a guy like Montembeault be so solid, as solid as he's been in net, this guy is up there in the advanced metrics with almost every goalie in the NHL and feels like he's just getting better at this point.
Absolutely. At the halfway point of this season, you have to feel like Samuel Montembeault is one of the brightest stars for this team. And it's so amazing to see him up there with some of the best goalies in this league. And that almost seems wild, right? To say that, okay, like, save percentage wise and, goals saved above expected, that he's right up there top 10, right? But it's really showing that he's backing this up right now. And I really feel like those numbers could possibly just improve as we go forward, possibly with a Jake Allen trade, coming up very soon. You have to feel like getting even more playing time, being able to get into that rhythm. And I always kind of felt like with Samuel Montembeault that he would kind of be like this stopgap goalie for us kind of in our rebuild. Like, okay, great for right now, but when we really get into our contention window, we're going to have somebody else. But Samuel Montembeault is now playing himself into that conversation where he could very much be either the 1B or dare I say even a 1A in our contention window. That's what he's doing so far.
He's doing some amazing stuff. Like, I'm at the point where I've just stopped doubting him. I mean, he's carried the Habs to so many wins. His performances, like, pretty much across the board have been elite. And this guy, like, at his cap hit too, has just been so great. And like you said, with Allen moving on, he's going to get even more reps in net, which is only going to help him. And like you see all the time, right? Being a goalie, it doesn't just come overnight. It's extremely rare. Not saying it doesn't happen, but it's very rare for very young goalies in their early 20s to really break through and be stars in the NHL. Again, it happens, not often. Even just look at this list again. Charlie Lindgren, Habs legend Charlie Lindgren, right? They drafted him, right? And he's right here finally figuring it out much later into his career than a lot of people might have expected. It's not a given that a goalie will be really good right off the bat. And I think Monty is finally just hitting that stride in his career where he's finally sort of figuring things out. And I think this contract is going to bode very well for Montreal.
It's very true. And he's just gotten into like a good kind of workflow to kind of stay that way of just kind of being consistent night in, night out. When you kind of have those practices, you kind of just get into that flow, right? We kind of know what to expect because he's just kind of even keel. He just kind of sticks with that same sort of routines all the time, cool, calm, collected, both on and off the ice. So, and really, speaking of which, kind of fits the culture of this team as well as kind of that happy-go-lucky, positive nature, kind of unspoken, but definitely a competitor. So really, really happy to see him excelling right now.
Oh yeah, me too. All right, well, let's move on to some of the prospect talk. This is exciting stuff. We got to first talk about David Reinbacher. Now, he's picking it up on one end of the ice. If you guys go watch this video, I really recommend you do, okay? This is from Hab Prospect Videos. We cite a lot of their videos. Great channel on YouTube if you haven't subscribed. I'll probably put the link down below. But they post a nice little 10-minute highlight package of David Reinbacher. He's picking it up in the offensive zone. He has 1 assist and 12 shots in his last 3 games. And Jesse, we all know, now this is just him shooting the puck, by the way. Kind of a cool screenshot. But we all know he had that pretty bad leg injury early in the season, and he's finally coming back, and it feels like watching these clips that he's finally gaining some confidence in the offensive zone. Now, he did have a few defensive mishaps, a bad penalty here, a couple bad turnovers there. But at the same time, again, he's relied upon a lot for Cloten. Like, he is the guy in a lot of these situations for that team in a league with a bunch of men, a bunch of veterans. But to see he's finally picking up that offensive area where he's shooting the puck at least a little more now than he was earlier in the season, I feel like it's it's the first good sign for David Reinbacher that we've seen maybe in a little while.
I'm so relieved to see this because this is our 5th overall pick from just last year after all, right? So it's so important that this pick really pans out. But of course, we're always reminded we have to be patient with draft picks, especially defensemen, right? That's the name of the game. It just takes a little bit longer for them to kind of get into their stride as professional players, which David Reinbacher is doing, playing in a man's league right now. So we're definitely getting really excited to see him here in North America soon. But before that, it's really nice to see some of his offensive game coming out because we know, okay, he's good defensively, but having that offensive part of his game, again, is the reason why we picked him, 5th overall. So that definitely needs to be a big part of his game. You had to feel like maybe there was something with his wrist kind of bugging him a little bit, but ever since he's kind of gotten over that, he's now shooting the puck more, which is so amazing to see, 12 shots in his last 3 games. So we're definitely going to be keeping an eye out on him just to kind of track his progression. Can he kind of keep up this trend of just being more of a presence offensively, getting more pucks off, right? We already know he's got such great mobility. He can get into such great spots in the offensive zone because of skating. He's able to read the play really well, but we just want to see him continue to do that. So it's great to see he's starting to take those steps right now.
I think the next big step for Reinbacher is doing what we've kind of started to see Slaf do, and that's use his big frame, right? And again, he's playing in a league like with a bunch of men, and it's hard to do that when you're younger, even if you have a big body. Like he's a tall guy, right? So there's going to be a lot of steps with Reinbacher, and I think a lot of Habs fans, I don't want to say are panicking. And like, look, there's definitely a right to be skeptical as well when the production's just not really there. You're seeing some low lights of him making mistakes for sure. But again, at this point, these guys are teenagers. Like, you really got to just be patient with them. Watch their steps one by one. And hey, what will they be when they're 23 years old? What will they be 5 years from now? That's what we really care about. And as long as the development keeps coming along, I think we'll all be happy in the long run. But one guy that is not holding to that trend of like taking his time, well, maybe sort of, but it's Owen Beck. I mean, look, we knew what we were getting with Owen Beck when we drafted him. He was a very solid defensive center with a very good face-off percentage, best in the OHL when we drafted him. We'll never forget that draft interview. But he was never really touted as that elite, offensive driver, scoring kind of guy. But recently, with his new team, the Saginaw Spirits, he has been just on a roll. Let's just check out a little article written today by Dumont. With 3 games with Saginaw, Beck has scored 3 goals, 6 assists, pushing his production to 3 points per game. No one expects him to maintain such an elevated production rate, but it's a perfect time to discuss the importance of usage when evaluating prospects. And as David St. Louis mentions in his tweet, he keeps repeating it, but we underestimate how much context, teams, lines, and systems influence production even in junior hockey. Yes, truly elite prospects score wherever, for sure, but the vast majority of even top players need the right support, and Owen Beck has found it. He's at 3 points per game now after having a 6-point game his first game with Saginaw. This can also be applied to Reinbacher, right? You need a good system around you to really see success, and Cloten is not exactly the pristine example of an elite system right now. But Owen Beck, Jesse, I mean, we knew he was great defensively. That's what he focused on before Peterborough and Mississauga. But now that he has an offensive system to support him, it's really amazing to see that, oh yeah, I can do defense and faceoffs, but you put the right players around me, I can score at a crazy high rate too.
Yeah, Owen Beck is playing like a star right now in the OHL. And it is so true that it is really a team game, right? You need that 5-man unit kind of working together. And when you can kind of have that cohesion, that chemistry, everything else, it can kind of bring out some of those latent, capabilities that Owen Beck has. And what's been so nice in watching some of his highlights from his previous games with the Saginaw Spirit is like turning that defense to offense just so quickly, right? And that's such a nice combination. We see the defense is there, but then now the offensive capabilities to be able to kind of finish off these breakaways and everything else that he's creating as a result of turnovers. So it's just amazing to see, right? We know his first game with them, the 2 goals, the 4 assists, like talk about a great way to kind of start off and already a great team, now getting a great player like Owen Beck. I'm excited to see what they'll do, maybe go on a playoff run here.
Yeah, and like you said, that defense to offense, there was a play, I think they were shorthanded. I think it was a 5-minute penalty as well, where he goes up and just straight up, like, I don't even know. Like, the defender looked so shocked. Owen Beck just walks up to him, lifts his stick, takes the puck, bodies him, and goes in and dangles on the breakaway for a 5-hole goal. It was just, it was magnificent. And you're very right. Like, even if Owen Beck can kind of keep this point pace up, I mean, remember, he's never been a super high scoring guy. 30 points in 25 games this season. 9 points already in 3 with Saginaw. So if he can keep this up, he's going to show that he is, he's going to get back into that conversation of the top Habs prospects, because these things always fluctuate. But, at the end of the day, he is finally showing a lot of the flashes that we really wanted to see from him, and I think a lot of us are beyond excited. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate every single one of you that takes the time to watch all of these videos. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.